I was a 19-year-old nanny, and on August 14th, I found a hidden camera aimed at the nursing chair. I'd been working for them 2 weeks and lived a few blocks away. I took the job because I needed cash and steady hours. Part of me wanted a safe place to work. Another part noticed small red flags from the start. The first interview felt informal and rushed, and she smiled too fast. "Hi, I'm Laura," she said and reached for my hand. "We only have cameras in the kids' rooms," she told me. "That is fine," I said. "I don't mind cameras there. We pay cash," she added. "No contracts." I agreed, I said. "I need the money." After she left, I sat on the couch and replayed everything. Her smile felt practiced. The living room smelled of citrus cleaner and baby powder. Family photos lined the mantel, but none included an obvious partner. A stack of unpaid bills sat hidden under a basket. I noticed a small keypad near the back door, its numbers worn from use. I kept those details as quiet alarms in my head. The listing showed up on Care, calm under Green Oak Family that night. I checked it on the bus and saved screenshots. The posting timestamp read August 1st. My messages matched that afternoon. On August 5th, she made a comment while I folded laundry. "You're a quick learner," she said, and watched me fold shirts. "Thank you," I said. "I try to help." She laughed and asked, "You don't mind watching close, do you?" I didn't answer then. I wondered what she meant by that. I folded the tiny socks and noticed little wear marks. Her tone had been light, but something about it pinched my skin. The baby monitor blinked red on the shelf. I kept folding and listening to the dryer humming and pretending it was nothing. On August 14th, the baby had a fever and was dozing. I fed her in the living room armchair and packed my bag. The Alexa on the counter showed the green drop-in light. I recognized it as an active connection. I froze and looked toward the kitchen counter and purse. "Who is that?" I asked aloud. "No one," Laura called from upstairs. "Just checking on the kids." "Is someone on Alexa?" I asked. It just blinked green. She hesitated and said, "Oh, I had to check the monitor." I reached for my keys and hit a hard bump in the purse. I dug my fingers into the lining and felt a lens. It was the size of a grain of rice. I unzipped the purse and found the camera sewn into the seam, aimed at the armchair where I'd been nursing the baby. My stomach dropped. The camera was surrounded by loose threads and tiny glue spots. A small plastic ring caught the afternoon light and flashed. The seam where the fabric joined the lining had been restitched with uneven thread. I ran my finger around the lens and felt the cool, smooth circle. The baby blinked and nuzzled closer against my chest, unaware. The whole room felt suddenly too bright and too quiet. "Laura," I said, keeping my voice steady. "What is this?" She came down slowly and put a hand on the rail. "Oh, that," she said. "We have cameras in case of emergencies." "This was aimed at me breastfeeding," I said. "You can't record that." "I didn't know it was pointed there," she said, voice small. Part of me wanted to call the police right then. Another part wanted proof first. I thought of the app showing drop-in activity and timestamps. I slid the camera into my pocket to keep it as evidence. I didn't want to hand it back and have it disappear. I pulled out my phone and photographed the lens and seams. I opened the camera app and tried to see playback indicators. I wondered if anyone had watched the feed yet. I checked timestamps on my messages and the Alexa log again. My hands trembled while I bagged the device for evidence. I slid the camera into a small evidence ziplock and taped it. "You can't record me," I said. "I'm leaving now." "You're overreacting," she said, surprised and defensive. I put the baby in a blanket and stood to leave. "Where are you going?" she asked. "You have hours left." "I'm leaving," I said. "I can't stay where I'm recorded." "You're making a big mistake," she said. "We can talk." "I don't want to talk," I said. "I'll text you later." I walked out and locked the front door behind me. I called my mother and told her exactly what happened. "Mom," I said, "I found a camera at the house today. Are you safe?" she asked immediately. "Where are you now?" "I'm outside," I said. "I brought the baby and the camera." "Don't go back inside," she said. "Come over to my place." I took the bus slowly and watched the purse in my bag. On the bus, my legs shook and my throat tightened. People read their phones and pretended not to notice my clutched baby. I hugged the camera inside a sweat-stained pocket and counted the stops until my mother's corner. I wondered if anyone on the bus recognized me from the neighborhood. I texted screenshots of Care, calm messages, and the posting to my boyfriend. He called and said, "We'll sort this out. Don't escalate it." At my mother's kitchen table, I spread everything out and wrote notes. The camera was a pinhole model sewn into the lining of a purse. The Alexa had indicated a drop-in connection. I wrote that down. Discovery date, August 14th. I recorded the time and details. My mother made tea and handed me a mug. She pulled a legal pad from the drawer and handed me a pen. I wrote out times, names, and snippets I could remember. I printed the messages from my email onto paper and taped them to the notebook. The pieces formed a case file in front of me. "Okay," my mother said. "Document everything before you call anyone. Stay calm and document everything," she added. "I'll bring copies and sit with you at the station." "Thank you," I said, gripping the folder for protection. "I can't work here anymore," I wrote. I found a camera. A minute later, my phone chimed with a new message from her. "What camera?" she texted. "You're overreacting. Please come back." I didn't respond and filed a police non-emergency report instead. I felt exposed and strangely relieved at once. Before going to the station, I printed my timeline and a copy of the listing. I put everything into a manila folder and stapled receipts to the back. My mother handed me the folder and squeezed my shoulder as I left. The metal of the folder felt solid in my lap on the bus ride over. 3 days later, the cash payment showed up short by $10. That confirmed a pattern of underpaying I suspected. I collected screenshots, timestamps, and the physical camera as evidence. But I had no recordings proving the feed had been used that day. I worried if anyone would believe me without footage. At the police station, I sat on a plastic bench and waited with the folder. A woman at the front desk asked for basic contact info and took my statement. She printed a short incident form and handed me the copy. Do you have the device with you today for evidence? The clerk asked. Yes, it is in my bag, taped and labeled, I said. We'll log it and give you a receipt to keep. I noted the report number and kept the printed form. The detective asked practical questions and wanted proof of an active feed. He said they needed more to press charges and the process would be slow. I felt dismissed and then angry. I prepared to gather everything I could and save the care. Com listing screenshots immediately. He opened a small evidence bag, read the serial number aloud, and compared it to a search on his tablet. He said they would check drop-in logs with Alexa and subpoena records if needed. He asked me for anyone who could corroborate my presence that day. Detective, do you have proof someone accessed the feed? Me. Only the Alexa drop-in light and timestamps on my phone. Detective, we'll need the device and your screenshots for now. Me. I already put them into a folder. Here. I felt oddly calm handing him the camera. He gave me a case number and a contact extension and told me the investigation would take time. I printed the police report receipt and stapled it into my folder. I posted the employer's listing to a local nanny Facebook group. A neighbor messaged saying she'd seen a different nanny last week and gave a description that matched how the mom watched routines. I also found a care.com username in my messages, HarperHomie123. I saved all timestamps and matched them to suspicious comments. Text exchange included, "Why would you have a camera in my purse?" I demanded by text. "Just for the nursery," she replied. "Security concerns, you know." "That still doesn't explain the lens in fabric," I wrote back. "No idea. Maybe someone planted it," she answered. Part of me wanted to trust her denial. Another part kept every screenshot and every weird phrase. I posted a factual warning on the local nanny board. Neighbors and other nannies messaged me with similar small flags. One neighbor confirmed seeing the employer filming backyard play last week. CareCom moderators contacted me and asked for everything. A moderator messaged back within a few hours. "Moderator, can you attach screenshots and message copies here?" Me. "Yes." I uploaded everything and included the username. "Moderator, will review and temporarily suspend the account pending investigation? Will CareCom take this down?" I asked the moderator. "They review listings first," she typed. "Send us everything." I already filed. Username HarperHomie123. Screenshots attached, I replied. "Thanks, we'll flag the account and investigate," she answered back. I filed a small claims case for unpaid wages and harassment and a formal complaint with CareCom and the BBB. 10 days after discovery, I noticed the employer had relisted under a new account. I sent the moderator more screenshots and they suspended the account. Part of me wanted public punishment and a written apology. Another part knew public posts could escalate. A week later, a detective called and asked for the camera serial number. He said, "We can open an inquiry, but we need more direct proof." I handed over the device, the payment screenshots, and the message timestamps. The community offered to testify if needed. I printed my timeline and brought it to small claims court as backup. Before the hearing, I printed my small claims packet and reviewed my notes. I organized exhibits into numbered tabs and stapled copies for the clerk. My hands were steadier when I had those physical pieces in front of me. My boyfriend drove me to court and waited in the car with the baby. He told me to breathe and promised to sit beside me if things got difficult. The public confrontation happened at the small claims hearing in September. The courtroom was small with folding chairs. She sat at the defendant table and refused to look at me. "You're here to collect wages and to explain the camera," the judge said. Laura's voice was tight. "I did not plant anything," she said. I had printed copies of every message and handed them to the clerk. The judge flipped through my packet and nodded at the photos. My voice felt thin when I spoke, but the words landed. The judge asked clear questions and kept her on topic. "You recorded me breastfeeding a child," I said, looking directly at her. She stood, put her hands on the table, and denied responsibility. "That camera was for emergencies," she told the judge. A neighbor stood and said she had seen similar filming behavior. The judge asked for evidence, and we handed over photos and texts. That confrontation forced the employer to answer in front of witnesses. Before the neighbor testified, the clerk handed her a blank witness form to sign. She took a breath and told the room what she'd seen in the backyard and on the steps. I watched the defendant's jaw tighten when the neighbor mentioned filming habits. The judge took notes and asked pointed questions. "Neighbor, I saw a camera setup filming the play area last week." Judge, "Did you see who was operating any devices?" Neighbor, "No, but I noted the angle and the tripod." Judge, "Thank you. That is helpful evidence." A settlement letter arrived 6 weeks later as a partial cash payment. It didn't erase what happened, but it closed that immediate chapter. I used the money to buy a new phone and to change my locks. I filed police reports, CareDon complaints, and kept copies of everything. I felt relieved by that small win and calmer with the baby, but I still checked the doors before bed for months. I started checking pockets and seams of bags at work after the incident. I developed a routine of running my fingers along fabric edges and under straps. It felt ridiculous and necessary at once. I also took a self-defense class that fall. I wanted to feel physically safer and more in control of my personal space. I wondered if I would ever feel safe in another house. Part of me wanted to never tell anyone and forget. Another part wanted justice and stronger boundaries for future jobs. I kept printing copies of every document and stored them in a locked drawer. I handed a copy to my mother and to my boyfriend for safekeeping. The folders felt protective against the invasive things that had happened. Final note to other nannies: trust your instincts, document everything, and get out safely. I was the 19-year-old nanny who found a hidden camera in August, and I left that afternoon. Timeline I kept: August 1st, CareCom, posting under Green Oak Family and initial interview. August 5th, first odd comment about watching clothes. August 9th, surveillance hints and strange messages about routine. August 14th, Alexa drop an indicator and camera discovery at the chair, immediate exit and resignation text. August 16th, partial cash payment arrived and logged short. August 17th, care calm, report filed, moderator notified. August 20th 1, employer relisted under Harper Homiane 123. August 20th 4, community warning posted to local nanny group. Early September, small claims filing and public hearing. 6 weeks after complaint, settlement letter and partial payment received. I still get a tight feeling when cameras blink green on a counter. I find myself glancing up at monitors in public spaces and watching faces in waiting rooms. Sometimes I wonder if people who smile too fast hide other things. I wondered if I had missed other tiny signs along the way.